Think back to December 9th, 1965. You're in front of a bulky wooden TV, ready for a holiday cartoon. Or so you think. A Charlie Brown Christmas had no laugh track, a jazzy, grown-up soundtrack, and real kids instead of polished actors. CBS was convinced it would flop. They even said, "My golly, we've killed it." But they couldn't have been more wrong. Over 15 million households tuned in, starting a holiday tradition that's lasted 6 decades. And while you've probably watched it 100 times, there are hidden details, secret messages, and tiny mistakes in the animation that make this imperfect special a true masterpiece. Number 20. The special that almost didn't air. When A Charlie Brown Christmas first aired in 1965, most viewers assumed it was just another cute holiday cartoon, something light, disposable, and easy to forget once December passed. Animated TV specials back then weren't meant to last. They aired once, did their job, and vanished. No one expected this quiet little half-hour to matter beyond that single night. Behind the scenes, though, CBS executives were already panicking. When they screened the finished special, their reaction wasn't joy, it was fear. The pacing felt too slow. The music was too mellow. The voices sounded awkward. And worst of all, there was no laugh track. In 1965, that alone felt like a guaranteed disaster. One executive reportedly summed it up with a blunt reaction. "My golly, we've killed it." But here's the detail most people miss. CBS couldn't pull the special even if they wanted to. The promos were already everywhere. Sponsors were locked in. Airtime was scheduled. There was no backup plan. The network didn't air A Charlie Brown Christmas because they believed in it. They aired it because they had no other choice. That accident changed television forever. Nearly half of America tuned in. Viewers connected instantly. Critics praised its honesty. What CBS feared would ruin Christmas ended up redefining it. The special didn't succeed because it followed the rules. It succeeded because it broke them. Did you grow up watching Charlie Brown on TV, VHS, or later on streaming? Drop it in the comments and hit like if this special is part of your holiday tradition. Number 19. Schultz's Unbreakable Rules. Most people assume A Charlie Brown Christmas feels different because of nostalgia, because we watched it as kids and carried that feeling into adulthood. But the truth is, it feels different because its creator forced it to be different. Charles M. Schulz didn't just write the story. He guarded it like a line drawn in the snow. When CBS executives started giving notes, Schulz didn't negotiate. He issued rules. Real rules. First, the kids had to be voiced by actual children, not adults pretending to sound young. In an era where kid voices usually meant grown actors pitching their voices up, this decision terrified the network. Schulz wanted awkward pauses, cracked delivery, and emotional honesty, even if it sounded imperfect. Second rule, no laugh track. That was borderline rebellion in 1965. Sitcoms lived and died by canned laughter. But Schulz hated the idea of a machine telling people when to feel something. He wanted silence. He wanted discomfort. He wanted space for emotion to land naturally, without being pushed. And then came the rule that caused real panic. The Gospel of Luke had to stay. Linus's speech about the true meaning of Christmas wasn't optional. Schulz demanded it. Executives worried it would alienate audiences. Schulz didn't budge. Remove it, and there would be no special. That stubbornness is why the special still works today. Schulz didn't protect tradition. He protected sincerity. Number 18. The real kids behind the voices. When people talk about A Charlie Brown Christmas, they often mention how real the kids sound. Hesitant, soft-spoken, sometimes awkward. Most assume that was a clever acting choice. It wasn't. Those voices sound real because the kids weren't acting at all. They were just kids. Instead of hiring trained child performers, the producers pulled children from local schools and staff families. No voiceover experience, no media polish. Some of them had never even seen a microphone before. The goal wasn't perfection, it was authenticity. And that choice changed everything. Here's the part almost no one notices. Some of those kids couldn't even read the script. Sally's voice actress was so young that lines had to be spoken to her one phrase at a time. She'd repeat each piece, and the editors stitched it all together later. That slightly clipped rhythm everyone remembers? It wasn't stylistic, it was survival. Even more incredible, nearly all the voice recording happened in a single day. One chaotic, exhausting day filled with short attention spans, restless kids, and producers doing everything they could to keep the room focused. Director Bill Melendez later joked that directing them felt like trying to herd rabbits. But that chaos gave the special its soul. Those pauses, stumbles, and imperfect deliveries made the Peanuts gang sound like real children trying to understand a confusing world, exactly what Charles Schulz always wanted. Number 17. The jazz score that almost got cut. Today, the music from A Charlie Brown Christmas feels inseparable from the story. Those soft piano notes don't just play in the background, they define the mood. But at the time, that jazz soundtrack almost didn't make it to air. In fact, CBS executives actively tried to stop it. The choice came from a moment of pure chance. Producer Lee Mendelsohn was riding in a taxi when he heard Vince Guaraldi's "Cast Your Fate to the Wind" on the radio. Something about it felt honest, reflective, and human, exactly like Charlie Brown. Mendelsohn tracked Guaraldi down and brought him in, even though no one else was convinced. Jazz, especially then, wasn't considered kid-friendly. It was too mellow, too grown-up. Executives wanted something brighter and bouncier music that felt safe and predictable. But while those conversations were happening, the animators were already storyboarding scenes to Guaraldi's demos in secret. The music and animations started to breathe together naturally. When Charles Schulz finally heard the score, he didn't hesitate. He approved it instantly. To him, the music wasn't decoration, it was emotional glue. The quiet sadness, the gentle swing, the space between notes, all matched the Peanuts world perfectly. That risky decision paid off in a way no one expected. The soundtrack became one of the best-selling jazz albums of all time and introduced an entire generation of kids to jazz without them even realizing it. Quick pause. What song from A Charlie Brown Christmas instantly puts you in the holiday mood? Drop it in the comments, and tap like if the music hits before the visuals. Number 16. Linus drops the blanket. Linus's blue blanket has always been a running joke in Peanuts. He drags it everywhere, defends it fiercely, and refuses to let it go, even when Lucy tries to pry it from his hands. Most viewers see it as comfort or comedy, but in A Charlie Brown Christmas, that blanket quietly becomes one of the most powerful symbols in television history. The moment happens during the special's emotional turning point. Charlie Brown, exhausted and frustrated, asks the question at the heart of the story. Isn't there anyone who knows what Christmas is all about? Linus steps forward, asks for a spotlight, and begins reciting the nativity story from the Gospel of Luke. It's calm, it's sincere, and then something subtle happens. As Linus reaches the words, "Fear not," he lets go of his blanket. On purpose. This is the only time in the entire special, and one of the only times in Peanuts history, where Linus stands without it. There's no dialogue calling attention to it, no music cue, just a quiet visual decision. Charles Schulz designed that moment deliberately. Linus isn't cured of fear. He's choosing something deeper to hold on to. The message replaces the object. Faith replaces anxiety. Hope replaces comfort. The blanket returns later, gently wrapped around Charlie Brown's fragile tree, reinforcing the same idea: even the weakest things can stand tall with a little belief. Number 15. Nearly pulled from TV. When most people think of the Peanuts gang, they imagine cheerful, timeless holiday fun. But the truth is, the animation style itself was shocking for its time. Charles Schulz insisted on preserving the rough, hand-drawn charm of his comic strips. That meant no polished, perfect movements. The characters sometimes jerked. Their eyes blinked awkwardly, and the backgrounds were intentionally minimalist. Critics worried kids wouldn't pay attention. They feared the look was too crude for television. Here's the hidden detail. Those imperfections weren't mistakes. Every little wobble, Every slightly off-kilter line was meticulously designed to feel authentic. Schultz wanted viewers to feel like they were stepping into the pages of the comic, not watching a factory-made cartoon. That subtle rawness gave the special a warmth no other Christmas show could match. It felt real, human, and imperfectly perfect, much like the holiday season itself. Even the snow wasn't just snow. The soft, almost shaky white overlays were painstakingly painted frame by frame. Animators weren't trying to impress. They were trying to evoke a mood. One animator later said, "The goal was simple. We wanted it to feel like a memory, not a commercial." And that is exactly why, decades later, audiences still connect with the visuals in ways that modern, slick animation struggles to replicate. Number 14. The lost Coca-Cola scenes. When you watch A Charlie Brown Christmas today on streaming or DVD, you are actually seeing a modified version of the original masterpiece. Most viewers don't realize that when the special debuted in 1965, it was heavily branded. Because Coca-Cola was the sole sponsor, the original 1965 broadcast looked quite different. During the iconic opening "Christmas Time Is Here" sequence, as the kids play Crack the Whip on the ice, they actually knock Snoopy right into a large billboard that reads, "Brought to you by the people who bottle Coca-Cola." Even the ending was branded. Instead of the simple fade to black we see now, the kids gathered to sing "Hark the Herald Angels Sing," while a festive graphic appeared on screen, wishing viewers a "Merry Christmas from your local Coca-Cola bottler." These moments weren't just ads. They were baked directly into the animation. These lost scenes were edited out in later years to comply with stricter broadcast regulations regarding advertising in children's programming. But for the generation that grew up watching the original airing, those moments are a core part of the memory. The detail most people miss is how precarious the show's existence was. Without that specific corporate backing, Charles Schultz might never have gotten the no laugh track rule past the network. The original credits even featured a festive Coke bottle nestled in the snow, a sight that has since vanished into the archives of television history. It's a fascinating reminder that this anti-commercialist story was, ironically, kept alive by one of the biggest commercial brands in the world. Number 13. The Little Tree with Big Meaning. Most viewers remember Charlie Brown's Little Christmas Tree as just sad and tiny, but the truth is, that scraggly tree carries a deeper, almost rebellious message. CBS executives initially hated it. They wanted a lush, sparkling tree, something bright and cheerful for kids. But Charles Schultz insisted on keeping it bare, awkward, and imperfect. He argued that the tree wasn't about perfection, it was about heart. The detail most people miss. That tiny tree became a symbol of authenticity. Every crooked branch, every missing ornament reflects Charlie Brown's struggle to find meaning in the holiday chaos. It's not just a prop, it's storytelling in miniature form. Even Linus's famous speech about the true meaning of Christmas wouldn't hit as hard if the tree were polished and perfect. Its flaws make the message human. Behind the scenes, animators went to painstaking lengths to make the tree feel alive. The needles were painted individually, some slightly off-kilter, some drooping. Every frame subtly reinforced the idea that beauty isn't in perfection, it's in love and care, however small. And viewers may not realize it, but that tiny tree became an icon, inspiring generations to embrace imperfection in their own lives. Number 12. Snoopy's secret storytelling moves. Everyone knows Snoopy dances on his doghouse, but there's a hidden detail most viewers never notice. Those moves weren't random. Vince Guaraldi's jazz score inspired every twirl, hop, and spin. Animators carefully timed Snoopy's steps to the rhythm, creating a perfect visual music harmony that feels effortless but was actually painstaking to achieve. What's often missed is how Snoopy's dance mirrors the emotional beats of the story. When the gang worries about the meaning of Christmas, Snoopy's carefree moves contrast the tension, reminding viewers to embrace joy amid stress. Every leap, tiptoe, and tailspin isn't just for laughs. It's storytelling without words. That's why, decades later, adults still feel the charm, while kids simply enjoy the fun. Even subtler, the shadows and movements were drawn to suggest weight and momentum, giving Snoopy an almost lifelike bounce. It's easy to take for granted, but those tiny animation choices make him feel alive. The humor, the personality, and the sheer energy of the scene all come from a deep understanding of rhythm, timing, and emotional nuance. Number 11. The Schroeder Piano Mystery. If you watch closely when Schroeder plays his signature jazz on that tiny piano, you'll notice a detail that most viewers overlook, but a musician never would. Charles Schulz was a stickler for realism in the comic strip, but when it came to the animation of the piano, something strange happened. Schroeder's toy piano is depicted as a simple, flat-topped instrument, and the keys he plays are actually just black and white lines painted onto a flat surface. There are no actual indentations or moving parts. Even more mysterious is the sound. While we hear the sophisticated, multi-layered jazz compositions of Vince Guaraldi, Schroeder's hands often move in a simplified, repetitive motion that doesn't match the complexity of the music at all. The real hidden detail here is that Schulz and the animators intentionally left the animation of the piano playing slightly inaccurate to preserve the toy nature of Schroeder's world. In several frames, Schroeder is seen playing a grand piano piece, yet the toy piano he's using lacks the proper number of keys, and the black keys are often missing entirely or grouped incorrectly. This creates a charming, surreal contrast. The music is world-class, professional jazz, but the instrument is an impossible, simplified child's plaything. This subtle disconnect reinforces the theme of the entire special, that great beauty and profound meaning can come from the most humble, imperfect places. Number 10. The spotlight moment you missed. Most people remember the iconic scene of Linus holding his blanket and explaining the true meaning of Christmas. But there's a hidden detail that often goes unnoticed. The placement of the spotlight on Linus wasn't just for dramatic effect. It was carefully designed to isolate him from the rest of the gang, emphasizing the importance of his words while visually representing the clarity of his message amid the holiday chaos. Here's the subtlety viewers often miss. The shadow cast behind Linus was intentionally elongated, giving the scene a cinematic depth that feels much larger than the half-hour special. This was unusual for TV animation in 1965, where flat, simple backgrounds were the norm. That careful lighting choice elevated the moment from a simple speech to an emotional, unforgettable climax. Even more fascinating, animators timed the camera angles and Linus's gestures to sync with Vince Guaraldi's piano chords. Every pause, every lift of the blanket matches the music's phrasing, reinforcing the emotional impact. It's why the scene still gives chills decades later. A perfect blend of dialogue, animation, and score that few people notice the first time. Number 9. Backgrounds that speak volumes. At first glance, the background art in A Charlie Brown Christmas seems simple: plain gyms, sparse streets, and minimal decoration. But there's a hidden detail most viewers miss. Every setting was deliberately pared down to focus attention on the characters and their emotions. Charles Schulz wanted viewers to feel the story, not get distracted by flashy visuals. The subtlety lies in how the backgrounds interact with the characters. Notice how the empty gym feels vast and almost lonely when the kids debate the Christmas play, or how the muted colors of the snow-covered streets highlight the bright personalities of Charlie Brown and his friends. These choices weren't accidents. They were storytelling tools designed to enhance mood and meaning. Even more hidden, some props were intentionally oversized or off-kilter to create perspective and visual rhythm. The tiny tree looks even smaller against the gym's expanse, emphasizing Charlie Brown's feelings of doubt and inadequacy. That attention to scale and placement gives the animation depth far beyond what casual viewers might notice. Number 8. The mystery of the dancing twins. In the middle of the iconic gym dance scene, most viewers are busy watching Snoopy do the bunny hop or Linus shuffle with his blanket. But if you look toward the back of the group, you'll see two of the most mysterious characters in the Peanuts universe. Often referred to by fans as the dancing twins, these two girls are wearing nearly identical outfits, one in a vibrant orange dress and the other in a soft purple. While most of the other kids have names and backstories, these two girls remain largely silent, serving as a visual Easter egg for eagle-eyed fans who have watched the special for decades. The detail you likely missed is where these characters came from. In the original comic strips, Charles Schulz introduced a set of sisters named 3 and 4. They were the daughters of a man who was so obsessed with numbers and tracking people that he gave his children digits instead of names. Their older brother was named 5. While they eventually faded away from the newspaper strips, the 1965 Christmas special immortalized them in that loop of festive dancing. Their presence is a nod to the deep lore of the Peanuts world that only the most dedicated fans would recognize. Seeing them on screen is like a secret handshake from Schulz to his readers, reminding us that every child in that gym, even the ones without lines, contributes to the colorful, quirky spirit of the community. Number 7. The play that almost fell apart. Everyone remembers the infamous scene where Charlie Brown tries to direct the Christmas play, but there's a hidden detail that most viewers never notice. The pacing of the dialogue and reactions was intentionally uneven. Charles Schulz insisted on keeping the children's lines authentic, complete with pauses, stumbles, and awkward timing. That made the conversations feel real, almost like overhearing kids trying to organize something bigger than themselves. The subtle brilliance lies in how that uneven pacing enhances the humor and emotional tension. When Lucy interrupts, or Schroeder complains about rehearsals, the pauses and hesitations aren't just filler. They create rhythm, timing, and comedic tension that keeps viewers engaged. Every hesitation mirrors the chaos of a real-life group project, making the Peanuts gang instantly relatable. Another hidden layer: the animators' slightly exaggerated gestures during these moments. Charlie Brown's nervous hand movements, Linus's calming gestures, and Snoopy's little reactions on the sidelines. These tiny visual cues work in perfect sync with the dialogue, adding depth and personality without being overt. It's why the scene feels alive, almost unscripted, and why audiences of all ages still smile at the subtle realism. Even the background reactions play a role. Minimalistic as they seem, every extra glance, sigh, or subtle movement in the gym underscores the growing frustration and anticipation, giving the scene a rhythm and emotional beat that's often overlooked. Quick CTA. Which moment in Charlie Brown's chaotic playmaking made you laugh or cringe the most? Comment below. Let's relive the charming mess together. Number 6. The out-of-tune finale. Everyone remembers the gang decorating for Christmas, but there's a hidden detail most viewers never notice: the subtle symbolism behind the colors used throughout the special. Charles Schulz and the animators didn't just pick colors to look festive. Every shade was carefully chosen to reflect mood and emotion. The muted greens of Charlie Brown's little tree, the soft browns of the gym, even the pale whites of the snow weren't just backgrounds. They were storytelling tools. Here's what often gets missed: the sparse, understated color palette contrasts with the bright personalities of the characters, highlighting their emotions and making every moment more impactful. When Charlie Brown feels hopeless about the tree, the subdued environment emphasizes his loneliness. When Snoopy dances, or Linus delivers his speech, the minimalistic colors make their actions pop, drawing attention to the heart of the story without overwhelming the viewer. Even the decorations themselves carry subtle meaning. Ornaments are intentionally mismatched. Tinsel appears imperfectly draped, and the little tree's crooked stance is emphasized by the muted gym backdrop. It's a quiet reminder that perfection isn't the goal. Love, effort, and authenticity are what truly matter during the holidays. Every color choice, no matter how small, works together to guide the audience's emotions, creating depth and nuance far beyond what viewers consciously notice. It's a level of detail that elevates this half-hour special into something timeless. Number 5. The director's secret voice. Snoopy is arguably the most expressive character in the entire special, conveying a whirlwind of emotion through his dancing, his sneering, and his high-pitched squeals of delight. But have you ever stopped to wonder who provided that iconic voice? In 1965, the producers faced a dilemma. Charles Schulz was adamant that Snoopy should not speak human words, as it would ruin the magic of the strip. However, the character still needed to make noise. The solution didn't come from a professional voice actor, but from the director of the special himself, Bill Melendez. The hidden detail lies in the recording process. Melendez sat in the booth and performed various barks, woofs, and laughter, but the sounds didn't feel cartoonish enough in their raw form. To achieve Snoopy's signature sound, Melendez took the tape of his own voice and sped it up significantly. This technique, changing the pitch by increasing the playback speed, gave Snoopy that unique, high-energy voice that sounds both animalistic and human at the same time. Melendez ended up enjoying the role so much that he continued to voice Snoopy for decades to come. Every time you hear Snoopy's mischievous giggle or his frustrated groan after Charlie Brown's mistakes, you're actually hearing the director of the show literally putting his own voice into his work. Number 4. Linus, the calm heart of Peanuts. Most viewers see Linus as just the calm, wise voice of reason, but there's a hidden detail in how his character was designed and animated that often goes unnoticed. His movements are intentionally restrained small gestures, soft hand motions, and minimal blinking to reflect his thoughtful, steady personality. In contrast to the more exaggerated actions of Peppermint Patty or Snoopy, Linus's subtlety makes him feel grounded, almost like the emotional anchor of the Peanuts gang. Here's what's easy to miss. Linus's interactions with other characters are meticulously timed. When he delivers advice or reacts to Charlie Brown's frustrations, there's a slight pause before or after his lines. That tiny pause mirrors real conversations and gives his words weight, making his famous Christmas speech feel even more poignant. Every gesture and glance was carefully considered to communicate sincerity and warmth without needing over-the-top animation. Even the placement of Linus within each scene adds depth. He's often positioned slightly apart from the chaos, drawing attention naturally to his calm presence. In the gym, at the tree, or on the street, Linus visually guides the audience's focus, reinforcing his role as both narrator and moral compass. These subtle animation choices turn Linus into more than just a character. He becomes a symbol of quiet wisdom amid holiday chaos, a voice we remember decades later. Number 3. Expressions that say everything. At first glance, the Peanuts gang may seem like typical kids, but there's a hidden detail in how Charles Schulz designed their expressions that most viewers miss. The subtle differences in their eyes, eyebrows, and mouths convey complex emotions with just a few strokes. A slight tilt of Charlie Brown's eyebrows can express worry, disappointment, or determination. Linus's gentle gaze communicates calm and thoughtfulness. These tiny, almost imperceptible shifts give the characters a depth that makes them feel alive, even in static frames. Here's the nuance viewers often overlook. Schulz deliberately avoided over-expressing emotions. Too much exaggeration would have ruined the understated charm. The small, deliberate choices, a twitch of the lip, a furrowed brow, a tiny glance sideways, create a natural, human rhythm that draws viewers in emotionally without feeling forced. That's why moments like Charlie Brown's frustration with the Christmas play or Snoopy's joyful dancing feel so relatable decades later. Even more subtle, these expressions are timed perfectly with dialogue and music, creating layers of meaning. A pause, a blink, or a small sigh can speak louder than words. It's animation storytelling at its finest. Minimal yet powerful, simple yet emotionally rich. Number 2. How Charlie Brown Killed the Aluminum Tree. In the 1960s, the futuristic look was all the rage, and that extended right into the American living room during the holidays. Before this special aired, the hottest trend in Christmas decor was the aluminum tree. These shiny metallic trees, often dyed in vibrant pinks, silvers, and blues, were marketed as the ultimate modern convenience. They didn't shed needles, they didn't require water, and they looked like something out of a space-age dream. But when Charlie Brown walked past those glittering, cold, modern trees in the lot and chose the only real, struggling wooden branch he could find, he changed American culture forever. The detail most people miss is just how much of a villain the special made these fake trees out to be. By labeling the aluminum tree as a symbol of commercialism and a lack of spirit, Charles Schulz inadvertently dealt a death blow to the industry. Almost immediately after the 1965 broadcast, sales for aluminum trees plummeted. People who had once been proud of their metallic centerpieces suddenly felt they were missing the true meaning of the season. Within just a few years, the aluminum tree went from the height of fashion to a tacky relic of the past. To this day, the Charlie Brown tree remains the gold standard for holiday heart, proving that a little bit of sincerity is more powerful than any high-tech trend. Number 1. The ending you didn't notice. When most people think back to a Charlie Brown Christmas, they remember the big emotional punch, Linus's heartfelt speech, or Charlie Brown's tiny tree. But there's a hidden detail in the finale that often goes completely unnoticed. The deliberate pacing and framing that make the ending feel both intimate and monumental. The camera angles, character positioning, and even the subtle background movements were carefully orchestrated to make the moment unforgettable. Here's what many viewers miss. The final scene isn't just about the gang standing around a tree. It's a visual symphony of emotion. Each character's posture, glance, and reaction is timed to build tension, relief, and warmth in perfect harmony with Vince Guaraldi's music. The scraggly little tree, once a symbol of Charlie Brown's frustration, now stands as a beacon of authenticity and joy, framed so the audience can't help but feel its emotional weight. Even subtler, the lighting and shadows in the gym were intentionally designed to highlight the tree and the kids without making the scene feel staged. That soft glow adds depth, warmth, and a quiet sense of magic that feels bigger than the half-hour runtime. The combination of music, animation, and staging elevates the ending from a simple cartoon finale to a timeless, emotionally resonant experience. As the final notes of Vince Guaraldi's piano fade away, it's clear that a Charlie Brown Christmas survived not because it was high-tech or expensive, but because it was honest. In a world of flashing lights and commercial noise, Charles Schulz gave us permission to be a little bit sad, a little bit quiet, and a lot more thoughtful. He proved that an imperfect, scraggly tree is worth more than a dozen aluminum ones, as long as it's loved. Whether you first watched this on a flickering black and white set in 1965, or shared it with your grandkids on a tablet last year, that feeling of good grief remains universal. It reminds us that the best parts of the holidays aren't the things we buy, but the moments of stillness we share. Quick CTA. Did the ending of A Charlie Brown Christmas still give you chills after all these years? Comment your favorite part of the finale. Let's relive that perfect holiday moment together.